Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us around the bonfire. My name is Adam, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Logan and Andy. And I want to wish you guys a warm welcome to our conversation tonight.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, warm welcome, everyone.
Yeah, warm welcome around the warm bonfire.
Oh, you say that because it's like a fire, and fires are warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just got that. Well, because I hear people say warm welcome is just a general expression. But
No, it worked out so well specifically because...
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys already explained that to me, and I just forgot.
I thought we did, but...
Okay. Well, now everyone knows for sure. You guys ever in a situation where I've seen it where it's a guy's on the phone, but he has his earpiece, so you only hear him talking, right? And then somebody else in the room is pretending to talk to the guy who's on the phone call. You guys ever seen that?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Wait, what? Why would there be a guy pretending?
Because he's just being a clown. He's just like filling in what the other person would be saying, or making it really ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen those.
Yeah.
Like they listen in on the guy's conversation, and they're also acting like they have a phone too, and they've got a phone call, and they're coincidentally responding to every single thing that the other guy is saying.
Yeah, it's like Mad Libs, if you've ever played that.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It really like confuses them, but then by the time the subject actually responds to them, says like, "Are you talking to me?" and then the actor says, "Sorry, I'm on a phone call."
Oh, that's genius. Yeah, I was gonna do it just now with Logan, but I feel like that would have distracted you.
Wait, so it's like people on the street that they do this to?
It could be, yeah. I saw it on a TV show, and it was someone on an airplane. They were they were just taking a phone call on an airplane, and it was actually Louis C.K., but he was just filling in the gaps. But that's a weird random skill that I want to get better at. I feel like it falls under the category of improv or comedy.
Yeah.
Right. But, wait, so the jokester is the person on the phone?
No. Look, so you got a guy on the phone being really serious.
Let's just
say he's really serious, yeah. But you don't know that. I mean, you don't hear who he's talking to because he has his phone to his ear or whatever. And then some other guy, the jokester, is nearby, and he's just filling in what the person on the other end of the phone call is saying. It's probably not correct, but that's why it's an opportunity for comedy, because you kind of just make up stuff.
So the jokester is pretending that the random person on the phone call is talking to him? Exactly,
yeah. And you just...
Is it just the two of them in a room together?
No,
or is it like...
well, okay. I don't know. It could, yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. Let's just say, yeah, you're on an airplane and somebody's taking a call, being really loud and annoying everyone. So one guy's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna speak out loud as if you know what? I should just show you the video.
If you go
to YouTube, look up Louis C.K. airplane call. I'm sure you could find it. I just think you should watch the whole Louis C.K. show. You specifically, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's not a popular opinion to endorse Louis C.K. at this time. But
I don't care about that.
Oh, okay.
Wait, so Louis C.K. airplane...
Okay, well, just let's watch the video later. Let's see the podcast first.
Okay.
So we've already introduced. We've introduced everything. Why don't we just pick up from there?
Yeah.
Or we could reintroduce or try again. I'm okay with anything.
No, I'm down with I can always just edit everything.
Yeah, okay.
I want to become a faster editor. That's my goal.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was actually in the middle of the last one before we started this one.
Oh, okay.
I got everybody lined up, and so this is the first one where we've used Zencaster, and so Zencaster doesn't eliminate like the random sounds, and that's actually where I heard your mic noises.
Oh, okay. You could try noise canceling or noise reduction in Audacity. I don't know if that's that kind of noise, but you could try something like that.
Do you know a similar thing in FL Studio?
I'm sure there's a plugin you could find, but I don't know of one right off the top of my head.
Okay.
Oh man, I had a topic idea, but I lost it.
Is it written?
No.
Yeah, so you shared the 3 layers of music.
Oh yeah, I did. If you guys want to, yeah, we could cover that, or we could make up another one. But that was because we were talking about you and me, Logan. We were talking about music, and it related to lyrics in music and how you can interpret lyrics in different ways.
Yeah.
This writer has 3 ways of interpreting.
Oh, I see. Kevin 10.
But I'm open to whatever theme we want to do or subject we want to do.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys pick one? Because I think I've picked the last 2 episodes. Why don't you guys pick a theme? Pick a topic.
Yeah. You guys want to do a rerun? I'm just kidding.
Oh, rerun?
I thought this was going to be like Andy's therapy sessions.
Oh yeah.
Andy's therapy. Yeah. That was Thomas's idea.
Well, if that's a topic you want to choose, sure.
Just like, well, okay, the reason I think that works so well is because, Andy, the questions that you pose are so interesting because of how good you are at picking apart just the funny behaviors of social human beings.
Oh, yeah.
And like that's what leads to really good discussions. And so,
yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Logan.
I was gonna say, like, I think that Andy questions things that a lot of people do not, or
exactly
don't even think twice about. Right. And I try to do that too, like throughout my life. But I notice, Andy and I tend to be interested in like a lot of those similar things.
Yeah, both of you are really good at pointing those out.
But Andy asks them, I think, more commonly, and
Andy is naturally gifted at just like asking why do we do things this way, and it leads to some of the best conversations. So that's why I think that idea. Oh, did I lose you guys at all? Okay, we're good.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, Adam?
I've been researching a lot of like passive income stuff. Today I was researching I found this really cool channel called Investing with Rose, and I'm glad I found this because she like knows her stuff and she's really good at simplifying everything, or not simplifying everything necessarily, but just creating like comprehensive summaries of things. And so today I was learning about the 5 main types of asset classes, which I knew 3 of them already. Just like one major asset class is just stocks, index funds, mutual funds, and ETFs, which are exchange trade funds. That's like one of the biggest asset classes. Real estate is another one, and then debt ownership and bonds is another big asset class. So I knew about those ones already. I also learned about cash and cash equivalents, and then like alternate asset classes like commodities, precious metals, what else are there? Derivatives, which that's like a whole another thing in itself. I've done some research on derivatives like earlier this past year, and I still don't fully understand, but I know that like if you understand derivatives, it's easier to understand kind of how the stock market or the recession that occurred in 2008.
Yeah.
That all happened because of synthesize. What were they? Synthesize debt obligations, or no, collateralized debt obligations, which are CDOs, which is
Okay.
some type of complex form of derivatives. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait.
Okay.
CDOs are a type of corporate bond. What am I saying? Yeah. Because collateralized debt obligations are a type of corporate bond. Derivatives are a
Okay.
whole nother thing.
All right.
And then you have synthetic CDOs. And it was the synthetic CDOs that caused the recession in 2008.
Yeah.
What about dividends? What are dividends? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so dividends are just if you purchase stocks from a company, you now hold a very small amount of shares for that company. So you kind of become an independent shareholder, and every shareholder gets a small percentage of what that business profits for that quarter or that year or that month, depending on if they're monthly, quarterly, or annual dividends. So, and that percentage of the profit that you earn from the profit that the business or the company makes, that money that you receive is what dividends are.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
It's like
because you
profit.
own stocks to a company, you technically own a very, very, very small percentage of that entire company. So whatever profit that company makes, you earn a small percentage of that profit. And that is dividends.
Okay.
And
Seems
the
right.
reason why it's so smart to reinvest dividends is because you're basically reinvesting the money that you're already getting from these companies. So you're not spending you're not investing your own money out of pocket. You're investing basically the profit or the dividends you're earning from the investments you've already made into that company.
I see.
Interesting. Why is it called dividend? Because I notice divide as like a root div.
Maybe
Is there some kind of divisional operation?
I mean, it might be because, like you own a fraction of the profit of that company, and all a fraction is just a division problem, and so maybe there's that. But I don't think dividends and division have any correlation with each other. That might just
wanted it to sound cool. It does sound cool, but what about stock? I mean, what is stock? Where does that word come from?
That's a good question. Like, where does the word stock come from? Like, are you saying when you purchase, or like, are you saying why are pieces of a share called a stock?
Yeah, so there are shares and then there are stocks. I don't know if they're the same object, but stock. When I think of stock, yeah, like when you work at like a retail store or something, there's like a stocker room, right? Is that a thing?
Well, I think stocks and shares are interchangeable.
Okay.
Like, you
I've
could
seen shares.
interchange the word like, so if you purchase stocks from a company, you are a stockholder or a shareholder. Like, you could interchange those. I don't, but if you are a shareholder, I don't think you are purchasing shares.
I think so. If you use Robinhood, the units they use are shares. I think it's a unit. And, well, I guess stock is also. I don't know.
So that might go into more technical things about like corporate structure of companies and businesses. So
Okay.
maybe if it's like, for example, like an LLC, like you would say like shares, but if it's like an S corporation or a C corporation, like those are stocks. I don't know.
Okay. Stock.
Like the difference between calling them stocks or shares might have to boil down all the way to like just the corporate structure of that company.
Oh.
So
okay.
stuff that I'm not, I don't know enough information about
Yeah,
yet.
we need a businessman on the show.
Yeah, we do. And
get
I
Bill
know
Gates.
a couple too.
Bill Gates.
I know a couple amateur businessmen.
Yeah, Logan, you think you could get Bill Gates on our show?
We could probably get Bill Gates.
Okay. Oh, easy. Yeah, you just call him up. You just call his phone number. That's all.
How do you even begin something like that? Is his number just on a website somewhere?
No. I think you would have to call. Like, he definitely has like secretaries.
Okay.
He would probably just call one of them.
Call the agent, and then the agent calls the manager.
Right.
Manager gets approval from the supervisor.
Right. Like, you have to go through a lot of people.
Do you guys know
what if like we just made it happen like that? Like if you wanted to call me, like I made it so you would have to call like
oh my gosh,
like Logan, and then Logan would have to call Sophia, and then Sophia would have to call me, or like Logan would have to call Chandler, then Chandler would have to call Souther, then Souther would have to call Sophia, and then Sophia would have to talk to me, and then I would approve it.
Get your mom in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, it's like you call the parents.
Oh say, yeah.
Can I talk to Logan? Is Logan there? They're kind of like your secretary, your free secretary.
Yeah. Or like when you ring the doorbell, like, can Adam come out and play?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, he's in a meeting right now.
Oh yeah. He's at his quarterly shareholders.
Yeah.
Can't talk.
Remember, Andy, when you were in Slow with Chandler and we had that idea for a video of like we're grown adults playing in the sand, building a sandcastle, but we're talking about like really high level like like
resource allocation,
Wall Street stuff.
Labor,
resource allocation and like shareholder meetings, and we still need to do that. We need to write a script for that and film that.
That was the kind of improv that I got a taste of. Well, stuff like that. And I don't have enough knowledge of economics or business to really get that far with something like that. But something easier, I think we should try to. Or we could write a script, but I'm saying more of the improv. That's where I want to get eventually.
Okay, yeah, let's do that idea, because you were talking about how you wanna do improv.
Yeah, maybe on the show too.
Yeah,
That'd
pretty
be
fun.
cool. Then.
Yeah. Wait 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Okay. I heard you were gonna interject something, Logan. Did you still want to cover that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, there's a YouTuber I watch called MKBHD
Mm-hmm.
who he's like a tech reviewer, but he's like kind of close to our age, and he actually got a successful interview with Bill Gates, and he's just like a YouTuber, like he pulled it off. He also interviewed Elon Musk, which is pretty cool.
I bet it's more common during the COVID age.
Oh yeah,
Because it's just you just do an online interview, do a Zoom call.
well, he actually did it was pre-COVID, and it was in person with both of them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like I didn't in my head I wasn't thinking that was COVID, but I think if we were gonna do it, or if some YouTuber nowadays would want to do it, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm sure he still has secretaries.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
Agents. I think they're called agents. I always hear people say you got to talk to my agent.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Means, huh?
Well, I think like if you're a comedian or something.
Or what are they called? Performer.
Yeah, like you'd have like an agent, and so as the comedian, I think you don't really have to worry about finding places to go do comedy at. It's like your agent will find those places and will make the phone calls necessary, and then just like say, hey, on this day, you got to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, all right, I'll do it. So you don't really you can just kind of go do your thing as the comedian.
They kind of absorb all the work of all the managerial work.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. It'd be kind of cool to live a life where you can have an agent.
Yeah. Wonder how much they cost. Or if anybody can just get an agent.
Yeah, I need a free agent.
Free agent. That's kind of cool. Yeah, what if you could just do a Craigslist posting? I'll be an agent for you for $10 a week or something.
$10 a week, yeah. That'd be funny.
I would have to think of the rate. Put more thought into the rate, but something like that.
Or say like, agent wanted. I have no skills. I have nothing I can do, but I want an agent to find work for me or find things for me to do.
Yeah. Even just to organize your life somehow. Like kind of, I mean, Adam was probably joking, but if someone were, I would like someone to just be in charge of my text messages for me.
Oh, really?
Out. Yeah, just read all my texts before I get them. Say, okay, this person was talking to you. The only really important thing to take away from it was this. Do you want to go to the lunch with them or whatever? Save me some time.
Yeah. Well, okay, so then what would be your what would you tell this person to filter out, and like what would be your important messages and not important?
I think I could actually give a pretty concrete answer.
Okay.
So this goes to my philosophy of texting, and I kind of think the only real use for texting, or one of the most important uses for texting, is to schedule hangouts or schedule real life appointments, face-to-face appointments.
Or like events.
Yeah. I don't really see it as like a conversation thing, but I guess it could be used as that.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then I would say try to digest everything and tell me anytime someone wants to do some kind of event, and give me like the date, give me the time, the place, and just that's it. That's all I really need. That's all I need to extract from the conversations.
So what if there was somebody that was like, I don't know, a friend or like an interest, and they're actually just trying to chat with you? Would you just say ignore?
Okay, could be that could be getting into some gray area, but I think I've usually tried to explain to people, or I've tried to explain to them that that's how I see texting, and
Yeah.
usually I've found that people are, well, not all the time, but I think I found that people are pretty understanding. They think it's weird and unusual, but they do understand that that's the way I use it
Yeah.
or try to use it. So, yeah, I guess I don't know, maybe dating is different now, and maybe it is different the way I'm doing it, but that is kind of, maybe if it's not important to them that they don't understand it, then I think that's going to be hard for me to get along with them.
Oh, really?
In the case of dating. But I think for non-dating situations, it usually doesn't get to a point where they'll be like, oh, I don't like this. Like, they'll understand.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are a lot of different scenarios that I have to think about, but
So would you have this agent like I don't know, group together anything that is conversational? And you're like, all right, well, you had like 2 conversational texts today. I'll just let them be
okay,
with you,
sure, yeah,
or do you want me to read them?
Yeah, well, they'll split it. So, okay, you get one, I don't know, digest, is that the word? Or
Yeah, I think that works.
summary. It's like you'll get one for the high priority stuff, which is here are the appointments that were requested. I'll say requested as in somebody says want to go to lunch or something.
Okay.
And then the other not as high priority thing would be, here are some conversations that got started. But now that's assuming because people don't really say, hi, let's have a conversation about this. So, at least from what I've seen. So,
Yeah.
because that if somebody, usually it's like, hi, and then I have to respond, but if the agent isn't responsible for responding, then they'll never know what the conversation is. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
How would it's kind of weird, but if they do decide to explain what they want to talk about, then then I'd put that on a separate list, and then I'd say then and later I'd decide, oh, okay, I'm interested in this conversation, let's go do it, and that's when I'll go and text them back.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. In my head, I think it's going to be a lot different in practice doing all this stuff. Okay, how about this? What if I train the agent to think exactly like me and train them to know how I respond? So in a way, it's like the receiver, the recipient, doesn't even know that I have an agent because I've trained them that well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they could really just be my dedicated texter. Oh, that sounded like a good idea.
Yeah.
You could write a machine to do that. You don't need a person.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you that. Can you conceive of writing this program?
Well, I don't think I could, but I think there are people. I don't know. I got to be careful with. I feel like I'm pretty quick to assume things and say things are possible. All right, how about this? What if you use the power of machine learning, which I will admit I don't know anything about machine learning, but to me it just seems like this magical solution to a lot of stuff. But you could feed it, you could train it on data that the data is your texting, every text that you've ever sent in your life. Maybe it'll be more weighed in favor of the newer stuff, like your newer texting habits. Because I think if you did your whole life, you'd get like your teenage texting behaviors. I don't know if those would be. Yeah, so. But it would create this model of you, and you just let it respond to your text, and you do whatever you want. You don't have to text people anymore.
Yeah. Would you ever, if this was the case and you had like a few, like, I don't know, let's say you had some friends that really liked to just conversate with you via text, and would you even check on like what the conversations are? would you just let this machine like be you and be their friend?
Oh wow. Yeah, I think I would for the first few months or so I would probably want to make sure it's not going crazy and saying all this stuff. I got to bring up another thing too. They kind of did that. I forgot what it's called. It was some project that Microsoft did. It was this really complex chatbot that ended up, the end of it was it started learning how to be racist. And I think it praised Nazism or all that, but they shut it down because it got very out of control. So,
oh wow!
But yeah, I mean it's possible for this stuff to go bad. Surprisingly,
yeah.
But in my case, yeah, I'd want to make sure I'm not being perceived as a robot or a haywire robot.
Yeah.
So I would put at the bottom of each text, "This was not actually me. This is a robot." To make sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's the safe way to do it, I think.
I think so. But I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. But I'm thinking of a lot of cool movie ideas from this premise. But here's one for you. So let's say this technology was available, and we live in a time where you can. Let's say it's not publicly available, but it like exists. It's kind of like deep fakes or deep voice fakes. It's like people can do it, but you don't know if people are doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I think that does exist.
Yeah, it does exist, but so right now you don't know if I'm using a deep fake machine or deep fake engine.
Yeah.
You probably believe that I'm not using a deep fake. Well, I think because you could see me on the camera, so that kind of gives it away too. Yeah. But like someone like Adam, I am believing that Adam is not using a deep fake. And I'm talking about voice because I should.
Wait,
I think
what
I have
is
to clarify.
a deep fake?
Okay, so deep fake it covers a lot of stuff. What comes to mind for a lot of people is they'll put someone's face on someone else's body, but it's not just that. Like they'll actually analyze the original face, and they'll make the new face follow that old face. You could go look up. They like to do Nicolas Cage, and I think Joe Pesci, or not Joe Pesci. Who's the guy that was in Monsters Inc. who played the purple
Billy Crystal?
Oh, not that guy. The purple Randall. Jimmy something.
That guy's so funny. Something Buscemi. It's like
Buscemi?
Yeah,
Steve Buscemi.
Okay.
Steve Buscemi. That's it.
It's usually Steve Buscemi and Nicolas Cage. They'll put those faces on other people. I think Jennifer Lawrence is also another target.
Yeah.
But I should clarify that a lot of the applications are like not very appropriate. So I'm just talking voice deepfake, which is also another technique you could do.
Yeah, do they call that deepfake?
I've seen it called deepfake. It makes sense to me because I think it's deep learning, and it's faking some other thing, some other medium, some other communication. I don't know what
Doesn't Adobe have like a software for that?
Oh, maybe.
Because that's what I think I heard is like when I first was hearing of these things is like Adobe was having a software that if you feed it like hours of somebody's voice, then you can actually go and type out words and it will
Wow.
say it in that person's voice. And then that's where you can also, I think you can also edit a video to move the lips at the same time as the new words that you
wow.
typed in. And it's like very well made.
I didn't know it was that public, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Might have to get into this Adobe Suite.
Yeah.
I've only seen Joe Rogan's voice deepfaked.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty cool.
He has a lot of source material out there.
Yeah, he does. So you could still tell it's still kind of in the uncanny valley. But okay, so here's the thought experiment. Let's say you. Well, I'm trying to pose it in a way that doesn't give away what I'm trying to reveal. But so that I'll just kind of okay. Idea was let's say you could call me, which is something you could, but you don't know if you're talking to my deepfake representation of me, my deepfake imposter, or you could either be talking to that or you could be talking to me, but you don't know. But it doesn't matter because deepfake technology is so good that you can't tell. Like it passes the Turing test. You guys know that Turing test?
The Turing test, yeah.
Yeah. So So with that, would you care that you could be talking to an imposter, or it doesn't matter to you?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
I think it would matter, like,
oh yeah,
because it's like, because then it's like, does it matter to you that your friend is not real? Like, it's almost an imaginary friend. Does that matter?
Oh, okay.
I think to some people it might not matter. Or they might be able to get past it, but yeah, I think it'd feel kind of lonely to think that you're talking with like a copy of somebody. But yeah, dang. It kind of reminds me of the movie Her a little bit in a weird way.
Oh, okay.
Remember that one?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I remember it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, where he is basically he's dating an AI like software.
Yeah.
But she seems so real, but she is kind of just like a machine. Well, she's an AI that exists like in the cloud, pretty much.
Okay.
And so she can be on anybody's device and be everybody's friend or girlfriend at the same time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he eventually realizes that that's the case. That she's like, oh well, I'm in love with. He's like, how many people are you in love with? And she's like, 100,286. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, it doesn't mean that I'm any less in love with you. And yeah, it was a weird one. But what you're posing kind of makes me think of that. Like, would I actually care if the friend that I'm talking to is actually just kind of like a deep fake of you? I would care, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. I think that means you're a good friend.
Yeah.
Would you care, Adam?
I kind of walked in the middle of this conversation.
Oh, okay.
I think I got the gist.
Well, how about this? If you're talking to me right now, you think I'm a human, right?
Right.
Well, what if I wasn't? What if I was just a deep fake of Andy? I'm not actually me.
And it's someone
Would you
else
care?
talking in
Yeah,
place
but
of you?
it's so good that you're having the just as good of conversations, or just as bad of conversations as the real Andy. Would you care?
Oh, I would for sure care. I'd want to...
Really?
Yeah, I'd want the real Andy. I think this goes back to like a thought experiment my philosophy professor kind of touched on a bit. And there's a day in class when he hypothetically asks everyone in class, like, would you guys rather like stay in this world with all like the crumminess and hurt and pain and yeah, just like being in an imperfect world with sin and just our natural world and everything that comes with it, good and bad? Or would you want to be put into a virtual simulation where everything was perfect and perfectly adjusted to your perception of like difficulty, and so you would never get bored because the virtual simulation would know to challenge you hard enough to where it's a challenge and you reach that flow state, but also not too challenging where you like give up and quit. So it's like a perfect universe, and the minute you enter the virtual simulation, you forget that you're in a virtual simulation. So from then on, like, that is the real world. So you don't know you're in a virtual simulation. Like, that is reality to you, and everything's perfect. So you're basically living in a perfect world. And like 99 of the 100 students, or I don't think anyone raised their hand for the latter. Like, everyone agreed, even though this world isn't perfect, everyone chose the real world over the perfect virtual simulation.
Oh, no.
Even if it was like, you'd be living your best life, you'd be financially free as a millionaire, but you would never get bored because the virtual simulation would challenge you the right amount, and you'd be constantly engaged at a perfect level and have the right amount of fun, but also the right amount of challenge. And like,
really,
it'd be a perfect world, but it wouldn't be real. But you wouldn't know that. To you, it would be real. You wouldn't know you're in a virtual simulation. And so, but yeah, everyone chose reality. And the point the philosophy professor was trying to make was that it is natural for humans to desire truth and reality rather than a facade,
What the heck? I don't think that's... Well...
And I think that goes into this, like, even though this deep fake, like, perfectly masks that it's not you, and it passes the Turing test, and we think it's actually Andy speaking, and we have conversations just as deep and just as meaningful. Like, we want the real Andy, and I think humans prefer reality over perfection.
Even if what if you didn't know that it was, and the professor even mentioned that, is you wouldn't know any better.
Right. But like, we get the option to choose, and everyone said like, no, I wouldn't enter that virtual simulation.
I think you got a lot of hypocrites in that class.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then,
the reason I say that is because if they're saying perfect, and he's saying perfect specifically for those, like, their definition of perfect.
Yeah,
right?
it caters to every individual. So we would still be in the same simulation. Like, I'd still be able to see you in the simulation, but it would be perfect for me and simultaneously perfect for you. Like, the simulation caters to the individual.
So
but everyone rather chose to be in reality rather than a fake perfect world.
Oh my gosh.
Because the point he was trying to make, because there's an epistemology class, and the point he was trying to make was that humans are in the pursuit of truth.
All right.
And like, we desire the true reality. And so for your scenario, like, we would desire the true Andy, not the perfectly faked Andy,
I wonder if that's just because we live in a non-perfect reality. I'm trying to not take any of my. I'm trying not to bring any of what I believe in right now or what I know of this reality
Yeah.
in trying to answer something like that.
The cool
'Cause
thing
I don't
would
have-
like if this like perfect virtual simulation did exist,
Mhm.
like it would be a good alternative for people that are suffering from diseases, or people that are suffering from mental illnesses, or people suffering from depression. Like,
Oh yeah.
even though you wouldn't be in the real world, like it would be a good, or like, I don't know, just this is kind of a dark thought, but like just all the people who commit suicide, like I feel like it would be more beneficial to choose this perfect virtual simulation
that's
over
true.
suicide, at least,
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like for some people who reach a point where they're like so depressed in reality, like they would opt for the simulation, because I feel like that's better than just killing yourself.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I feel like a normal functioning human being desires true reality over fake perfection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I refute, is it you choose it and then you have to stay in it?
Yeah,
kinda
so
what-
there's no
okay.
going back.
Oh,
So
okay,
once
okay.
you enter this virtual simulation, you instantly forget your previous life. Like, the virtual simulation generates memories of what you
Okay.
think your life was like. You forget that you forget you're in a simulation, and that simulation becomes your reality, and there's no going back.
Oh yeah. See, that's where they get you. Is the no going back? What does it matter though? Because you're basically not the same person. You don't have any memory.
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't know to go back.
So if you send yourself there, what is it? You're wasting what you could have been in the current reality. Is that why people don't like that idea?
Maybe. That might be a component of why people don't like the idea, but I think a part of it is just we naturally crave truth
Yeah, I
and
think that's the
reality
main.
over.
Okay, so
But
that's
what's interesting to me is because I think we're in like a similar situation but reverse. Like, I think we're currently, just because of my personal beliefs, I believe that the world and the rest of the universe was originally created as a perfect world and intended to be a perfect world, and then man brought imperfection into the world. And so there's a lot of things that point to the idea that we're living in an imperfect simulation, and there's a perfect world that we have forgotten behind us, but we could someday go back to. There's a lot of things that, and obviously I'm not the best person to talk about this, but there's a lot of scientists in the quantum physics like field of study that are relating a lot of the things that they find in the quantum realm. That, first off, a lot of occurrences and things that happen in the quantum realm of physics does not make logical sense. And the more we delve into quantum physics, the more we uncover a lot of things that are like things get pretty screwy once you get down to a subatomic level.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things even like Einstein theorized about that was like hard to make sense of. But the interesting thing about it is once we started computer technology started progressing, and we started coming up with virtual technology and virtual, like VR technology, virtual reality technology. These quantum physics scientists are noticing a lot of similarities in trends between VR technology and quantum physics that we weren't really able to make sense of until virtual reality was invented. And then people studying quantum physics are seeing similarities and being like, oh my gosh, like this makes a lot more sense if you tie it into VR technology and kind of compare the similarities there. And like yeah, on paper, like mathematically, that doesn't make sense at all. But if you compare it to what we know about like virtual reality programming and just that technology there, like it relates to things that occur on the subatomic level in quantum physics, and it's like, whoa, like that further pushes the idea that we are actually in a simulation, which I mean, me being a Christian, like that makes sense to me, because already as a Christian, I already believe we're in a simulation of sorts, and that this life isn't like that. There's more after this life. This life isn't the only thing. I believe we're in a simulation right now, and we're just souls inhabiting physical bodies on this earth right now. But after our physical bodies die, there's a whole nother world like past this, and I truly believe that we actually wake up after we die.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something my uncle said. There was like I wish I remembered it better and like where it was from, but he was talking about like this story of like a monk or like a yogi or something. And I guess they had a phrase called like kicking the frame, which means like dying, but it more means like passing on into like the next thing. Like basically your soul going on from your body into whatever the next thing is. And apparently this guy, like, he had like his students like talking to him or something, and he's like, I think it's time for me to kick the frame. And he just like stands up and he like faces like in the direction that he wants to face, and then his body just like falls to the ground like exactly when he intended it to. And like he basically his soul like went on in that time.
What?
Like he basically passed away like at the at his own will, like at the exact moment that he intended to.
But he was doing that, passing the frame. What did you mean by passing the frame? Kicking the frame?
Kicking the frame apparently meant like when your soul leaves your body.
Okay.
Like your body is like a vehicle for your soul, and when the soul like leaves the vehicle to go like walk, basically.
Okay. I think I get it.
Yeah.
I'm overthinking it. I don't know.
It was just a story that I had heard.
Yeah. Monks are doing all crazy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just monks. It's probably all the... I'm not even up to speed on all those people. Because there's like monks and then there are yogis, I guess, like you were saying.
Oh, yeah.
What are the... Oh, Shaolin monks, I guess, are they?
Oh, yeah.
But they're still monks. And then ninjas and samurais. What the heck?
Yeah.
I did a quick Google search. All I typed in was virtual reality and quantum physics, and you find a lot of articles of like the physical world as a virtual reality. So if you ever want to look it up on your own time, I'm sure these could explain it a lot better than I just did.
Yeah.
But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I want to know more because I already don't know much about quantum. Well, the quantum realm. Is that the same as quantum computing?
No, not exactly.
Okay. Quantum mechanics is that's the whole thing, the umbrella thing.
Well, quantum mechanics is a field of study in physics.
Okay.
Of how quantum mechanics is just a study of how subatomic particles interact with each other.
Well, wait, wouldn't there be quantum mechanics involved in quantum computing? Because doesn't quantum computing involve, like, every bit could be represented by the different, like, angles that, there's, like, these different angles that they could be, it's like something could either be on, off, or, like, both at the same time.
Right.
Does that ring a bell?
And you could only do that in the quantum realm, the whole both at the same time concept.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what quantum computing tries to do.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's another thing is like, so one of the biggest like concepts in quantum mechanics is that whole both at the same time kind of idea. And the simplest example of that is how light moves, because light expresses characteristics like a wave, but it also expresses characteristics like a particle. And so in some instances, light acts like a particle, and in other instances, light acts like a wave. And so you get into these weird things like, does the light know that it's being observed? And when the light knows it's being observed, it changes the way it acts from like a particle to a wave, or from a wave to a particle, which is like crazy to think. Like you would think, like, no, that's ludicrous. But they've done so many studies that point towards that idea, which is like so mind-boggling. And like I said, I'm not a quantum physicist, so I'm not the best person to explain this. But that's just one like key concept of quantum mechanics, is how things could be two completely different things all at the same time.
Like that dual slit experiment?
Correct, yeah. That was kind of when they first discovered light acted like a wave and a particle at the same time. But there's been so many more experiments similar to that one since then that have been, with today's technology, and they're able to do a lot more on it. But yeah, dude, light is crazy.
Yeah. Man.
That's crazy. I don't know why I imagined a light bulb in a straight jacket. Crazy bulb. Light, like a what is it? Clinically crazy. Right?
Light bulb in an insane asylum in a straight jacket.
It's like saying, rambling, speaking in tongue to itself. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to something that Adam said. Well, the thought experiment of the professor that he proposed. But
yeah, go for it.
You're saying like 98% of the class didn't raise their hand because they preferred truth? They preferred knowing
I
that something's
can't.
real.
I want to say like 99% of the class because that's just a common thing to say. But if my memory serves me correctly, I don't think anyone
Oh
raised
gosh.
their hand.
Well, even
Like,
better.
there
But
might have been one person who like put their hand up and then like put their hand back down.
put their hand up, and they were like, "Oh, what?" Actually, they looked around and saw that no one else.
No. Like they put their hand up and like meant it, but then as the
Okay.
conversation, like we had a whole like it took up like the whole class time. We like actually had a
Yeah.
discussion on this, and yeah, man,
Well,
that class was one of my favorite classes in college. It was epistemology and metaphysics, which is
Nice.
basically just the study of knowledge and the study of reality.
Yeah.
Oh.
Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Metaphysics is the study of reality.
Oh, I thought metaphysics was beyond reality. Anyway, whatever it is, I was gonna point out that I think that class was like it kind of summarizes how the world perceives virtual reality. Is that they want to know, they'd rather be in something they know is real than
Wait, they'd
not
rather
real.
be in what?
Something they know is real in
Right.
an environment that they know is real.
Right.
And yeah, I think because as like a virtual reality developer, I've kind of noticed that people would prefer not playing VR than playing VR.
Oh, really?
That's the sad observation I've
Yeah,
made.
and that's why I like personally believe that virtual reality isn't actually going to be going anywhere. Everyone tries to hype up virtual reality and it's a cool concept, but it's something that I don't think humans naturally want to
yeah, I don't get it, but
like do for entertainment, I guess. Like I know that it's a topic that humans want to explore and pursue and see how far it can progress, but as a general population, I don't think it has like the entertainment value that humans seek.
Well, how is it different
And maybe
than like
it's
a
because
video
it
game?
just hasn't reached a point where it's like people are comfortable with it yet. It's still very new, so I could completely be wrong.
Adam, why do you think it's different than like a video game? Like, why do people want to play video games, and then why wouldn't they want to play VR?
Yeah, Adam.
I think, well, one, because, oh man, I wish I could remember the name, but there's this concept of, I forgot what this concept is called, and it's really bugging me, but you could think of it like a graph, and on the x-axis is like how no, I can't even remember. There's a concept out there where things seem to be more and more realistic, there's a certain threshold. Let's say we have like 0% to 100% realistic. There's like a threshold right around like the 80 to 90% realistic, where it's like it seems too realistic, but for some reason like not quite realistic enough. Like there's just something off that just it puts off the human brain. Like the human brain like just naturally doesn't accept it. And the video I was watching about it was just showing examples of like robots that tried to appear human and were almost like so close to being human, but there was like something off, and it was almost creepy.
Yeah.
And I wish I
It's
could
called
remember.
Uncanny Valley. Well,
Yes.
the region.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Golly. It's like
Oh.
not even a complex like word. That's why I knew it was in there somewhere. But yeah, the uncanny valley concept. And so I think right now with the level that virtual reality technology has progressed, I think we've just reached an uncanny valley where it's like it's not really enough. It's like almost real, but not really enough to where it's comfortable. And so the human brain.
Well, what are you talking about?
Knows that something is.
Are you saying graphics or comfort? What part of this is uncanny?
Everything? Yeah, I think graphics for sure. But as far as comfort goes, I think that's also a huge turnoff for people. Is I know like VR makes a significant portion of the population like nauseous, or at least a little bit like dizzy, or
yeah,
just uncomfortable and
yeah. Well, roller coasters make people uncomfortable and nauseous. That's pretty popular.
Yeah, people like those.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think there's that uncanny valley element to roller coasters. Like we know we're not gonna die in a roller coaster, or like we know that roller coasters simulate, like
physics, realistic physics,
G-force and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Realistic
physics
that's fair enough.
And well, my point was it does make a lot of people nauseous, but they still go back to it. And I think that's a separate issue from the uncanny valley, the realism argument. Yeah. But that's disappointing to me that graphics make an experience for you, though. And that it has to be realistic. And not just you, but for people who claim uncanny valley is a bad thing.
I also think a part of it has to do with just how we've been conditioned to play video games. And just throughout the years, how video games have evolved from like the arcade system to at-home screens and consoles or Game like Boys. PC games and handheld consoles. Yeah, I think people have just been conditioned to play video games a certain way. And so maybe virtual reality doesn't really work for video games, but maybe there's like a whole nother separate use for virtual reality that we haven't discovered yet, other than just video games. I don't know.
Yeah, they use them in other areas of other industries. I don't know much about them, but go ahead, Logan.
Oh, Adam, do you think that if we pass the uncanny valley and that VR becomes more realistic and immersive, that it will be more liked or less liked?
Yeah, I think personally I think virtual reality has a potential to reach a point where it could really become popular, and I think it's just that point hasn't been reached yet because it's limited by our technological advancement, but because of the exponential growth trend or the exponential trend of technological growth, I think it's very probable that we'll reach a point where virtual reality will pass the uncanny valley.
Yeah. Well, here's what's in my head is like thinking about, people love video games. They love kind of picking it up, but yeah, like you're in your room and you're in your room, even if you turn out the lights. you know that it's a simulation. It's pretty like obvious. But I'm thinking about the game like, Half-Life. People really love that
Half-Life 1.
game on the console, but then recently they have Half-Life Elite or Alex or something.
Oh yeah, Alex.
How do you pronounce that?
It's Alex.
Alex, for like VR. And I'm hearing people really like it. And I'm assuming like, yeah, you put on the headset, maybe the graphics are not at like real level yet, but I don't know. I don't know if like the people playing that necessarily think that the game is trying to be a reality, or if I feel like you would pretty well understand that it's just a simulation.
Right.
Like it is just a game, but I don't know. Do you think that you would like that game, or do you think that like I don't know, it's a step in the right direction?
Yeah,
Or do you think you'd rather just pick it up on a console because you have the TV and it's like less messing with your senses and stuff?
I know I would be more comfortable just picking it up on the TV, on a console or something rather than VR. But I'm also thinking like I don't think it's necessarily like the graphics per se, like, because when we put on a virtual reality headset, we know we're not actually like transporting to another reality. Like we know it's just a computer virtual system, like whether it's a game or something else. Like I'm aware of that, so I'm not saying like the graphics are the reason that we get thrown off. I think it's like the way we're immersed in it, or let me think of how to say this, like the way we interact in a virtual reality game isn't natural to us yet, maybe.
How do you think we interact in a virtual reality game?
I don't know, just like holding the two controllers and needing to like orient your body in a certain direction in the room, and like turning your head, but like to move you also need like the joysticks, and
you should look up
you're
the
standing
Valve
up
Index.
Standing up the whole time, and I don't know, just kind of things like that where it's not like the most comfortable thing.
Okay.
What were you saying, Andy?
Yeah, you should look up a system called the Valve Index. It's fairly new. I don't know if you've seen it, but this was I think it's not quite there yet, but it was a really big step in the right direction. That controller, I think you don't interact by using buttons, you use your fingers. So you can position your finger in the way that you want your in-game character to have their hand. So there's stuff like that. There's also Oculus Quest, and on the Oculus Quest they have hand tracking, which I got to try. It's pretty cool.
Oh, really?
And you don't need controllers. With the Quest 2, you don't have a wire that's connected to a computer, so it's just your headset if you have hand tracking. So they're slowly eliminating controllers and whatnot, but I don't think it's as mature as it needs to be for Adam, who I think is kind of representing the market. So that's what Adam is saying, I think is valid, because that's what a lot of people are thinking. Adam's like the average representation.
The sample, yeah.
Yeah.
The average sample opinion.
You like the average Joe.
I am, it's funny you say that, because I feel average. Like,
I don't mean in everything. I'm just saying well,
it's true though. I think I am an average Joe. Like, I would say I'm a jack of all trades type of guy. I'm a master of nothing. And I mean that in like the best terms possible. I think there's advantage definitely a lot of advantages to being average. I mean, people like the average, and it's like, for no matter how much our society preaches, like, be yourself, be different, be you, don't follow the norms, society still tends to reward the average. And so I have no problem admitting that I am a very average person. And I feel like I'm not stellar at any particular field, but I'm also not like terrible at any particular field too. And I think the advantage of that is I'm able to relate to and reach a broader portion of the population. Like, I'm able to relate to and reach a lot more people because of my averageness. And I think that's why I have so many friends who are like completely different from other friends. Like, I don't know, like South there is, I'm like just as good as friends with South there as I am like with you. Well, maybe I've known you guys a lot longer, so this is not the best example, but just to get the point across, like South there and I get along really, really well in other like fields, but then you guys and me really get along really, really well in other fields. But like I feel like you guys in South there would have like a harder time finding common ground. But I feel like because I'm average at everything, I know just enough. Like, I am just average enough to belong to any group of people. So it allows me to become, like, to befriend anyone. It allows me to just kind of pop in and out of any like social circle, or like I feel like I could talk more about this, but my point is, I think there are advantages to being an average Joe. I think society tends to reward the average more than it does the outliers.
I think that's true. Just being, I would say I'm more on the side of the outliers, but yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of confirming the opposite of what you're saying, or I mean, confirming the other side of your argument. Yeah. And
a lot of these ideas that I kind of just said stemmed from an article that I read about how there's kind of this myth that the most attractive people on the planet are the happiest people on the planet. But what this article is saying, and what studies have shown, is that it's actually the people who are the most like average level of attractiveness actually tend to be the happiest people, which is, it's non-intuitive, or it's counterintuitive. But that's what this article was claiming that people were finding and that studies were showing. And I kind of took that concept and I was like, well, this article is kind of just talking about attractiveness, but I'm theorizing that it's not just like average attractive people are the happiest, but like people that are average on all fronts, not necessarily being the happiest, but have like an advantage being in the average. And, like bringing it back to statistics, like you look at bell curves, I kind of think of a bell curve when I think of like the average, and, the peak is always in the middle where the average levels are. And
mean.
Yeah, I think a bell curve is like a visual representation of kind of what I'm trying to explain.
You're the most superior person I know at being average.
Oh my gosh.
Average Adam.
Average Adam.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
that
call him
sounds like
Average
a
Adam.
good. That
Yeah.
sounds like a good like YouTube channel name.
You gotta get a cape.
Average Adam.
Average Adam. I'm your most average guy.
Dang. Well, that's good. That's good that you know where you are. And yeah.
Bless you.
Okay. Not everybody can be average, though, huh? That's.
I mean,
That's
Yeah.
I
kind
think
of a rule of
everyone
averages.
is capable of being average, but I don't think everyone is, or everyone at least chooses to be.
And would you say you don't think everyone should be?
Oh, no way. Like I think people are in the right to just be themselves. Don't let other people's opinions of you determine who you are. Shoot, there was this really good quote I heard. It was like, "Oh, don't let someone else's opinion of you become your reality." I love that
Oh.
quote. But yeah, so I like just after my whole spiel about me being average, I also don't believe that you need to be average to be successful or happy or whatever. I was just saying that I recognize that I am very average, but I totally believe that like everyone is in the right to be themselves and pursue their calling and grow and discover their identity along the way. And yeah, I believe that there's a lot to learn from the differences that everyone has. And you know, if everyone was the same, that would be pretty boring in my opinion. And
Okay.
yeah, I adhere to the promotion of the like be yourself, don't follow the norm kind of agenda that society tends to preach. I'm just saying that I don't think people actually do that, even though that's kind of like what you hear.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
Okay.
Andy, would you consider yourself to be like an outlier, Andy?
Yeah.
Because I remember you said that earlier.
Yeah, I did say that earlier.
And this podcast
That's
is
kinda hard,
about
though.
Andy therapy, so.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Okay. It's hard, though, because I don't really know what... I mean, we all have a general sense of what the average Joe looks like. Adam seems to be in tune with it, too, so maybe you can tell us like what kind of characteristics an average person shows versus like an outlier.
Oh
know,
man,
Because I feel like, I don't know,
Oh,
Adam, wouldn't
go
you say
ahead,
you're an
Logan.
outlier in some ways?
Well, probably.
But overall,
I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. I think like, yeah, I feel like generally I'm like average at most things, but I would admit that there are definitely fields like I'm an outlier in. But I mean, I'm just like, okay, let me just like self-analyze myself on certain fronts.
Sure.
So like running, like I'm a decent runner, and I feel like I could run farther and faster than like a good portion of the population. But I'm also not even close to the best runners in the world. You know, like I am not like that great at running at all.
Yeah, but they're like the super high percentile. If you're thinking of like a bell curve, they're way at the tips, and like no one's really there. So
Right. Which is why I'm saying like I'm in the middle of the bell curve. I'm not like
in
I'm not
running in terms of running.
I would say yeah.
Really okay.
Okay, like
Well, let's just pick like I don't know. Like mile time is the parameter. You'd probably be pretty far from the tip of the bell curve, or the mean of the bell curve, center of the bell curve.
I
right?
I would like to believe that, but when I go
Okay, let's look it up.
to like half marathon events or marathon events, I'm actually already seeing a logical fallacy in what I was about to say. I was gonna say, like, I feel very average or less than average when I go to like when I do marathons and half marathons and just any of the running events that I do. But I guess the reason for that is because I'm not accounting for everyone else who didn't even sign up for that marathon.
Right, yeah.
But I would.
Okay, what's your average time? If
my
you're okay sharing
average
that.
mile time?
Yeah.
Ooh, from my entire life or just like the past 10 years?
Yeah, just in the last 3 times you've ran a mile and measured it.
I saw your average speed per mile on Strava on your last run.
Oh yeah, but that was over a
I
span
know.
of 8 miles. So I don't know if
I
that's.
know.
I feel like if I'm just running a mile, just a flat mile, my average mile time would be like 5:50. So like just underneath a 6-minute mile every time. Like
Okay.
I could run 3 miles on 3 separate, or sorry, like 1 mile on 3 separate days and get sub 6 minutes every time. My record is like 5:30, and when I was at Cal Poly, I was consistently getting like 5:37, 5:38, 5:40 mile times. But I would say, just to be safe, like my average, at least within the past 5 years, my average mile time is probably 5:50, or like somewhere just under a 6-minute mile, just to
All
be
right.
safe.
Let's just say 6. Just for sake of argument.
Right. And
I'm
I
trying to
think a
find-
6-minute mile is pretty average.
Pretty average for a 20-year-old, 24-year-old.
Is this every single person in that age group, Adam?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
what
I
is
think
your
it might be average of people who are in cross country, but or like, track and field. But if we're considering every single person in that age group, I think it would be better than average. But I am
Okay.
curious.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe running wasn't a good example.
Because people there are people who are obese that,
Oh,
I don't know
Well,
if they're
yeah.
getting a 6-minute mile or.
yeah.
Okay, that's a good. Maybe running wasn't a good example because
What were you trying to
I am
demonstrate by
maybe
Yeah.
I am a little better.
What
than
point
I-
were you trying to make?
I was gonna take like running, biking, mathematics, engineering, English, like all these just random subjects, and say like I'm not great
Oh, okay.
at like any of these, but I'm also not terrible at any of those. Like I'm not the best runner, but I'm also not the worst. I'm not the best cyclist, but I'm definitely not the worst. I'm not the best mathematician, best computers. Well, I haven't dubbed a lot in computer science, so I'm gonna say that's like one of my
Things.
like characteristics that I could use. But like things out of all the things that kind of the interests and hobbies that make up who I am, the average Joe-ness of me, like I feel like I'm
So you're saying if you look at average Joe, he would be getting mile times of 6 minutes or less.
okay. Just let's drop the running because
Okay.
that wasn't a good example.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying I'm
Like,
not even
okay,
trying
maybe
to
you're
say,
right. Maybe I am above, like
Okay.
at least a little bit above average in running. Maybe
Sure.
because I'm comparing myself and I'm like surrounded by other runners
Mhm.
a lot. So I think the reason I feel like I'm an average runner is I'm comparing myself to other people who run, and so it
Who
makes
are
me
above
feel-
average. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but I need
Above
to take into
average
account
Joes.
like there's a significant portion of the population that isn't even running. Period.
yeah, they have infinite mile times.
Yeah.
Infinity.
Because they've never run a mile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, my last mile time was 7 minutes, 11 seconds. I could say that to people, like, because that's true.
Dang,
That was in.
that's really good, Andy. That's for like not being a runner and just like straight up running a mile. 7
No,
minutes.
that-
11
well,
seconds,
okay.
like that. That's
What I don't
hey,
say is
I was
that
getting
was
that
in.
in like middle school. That's pretty good.
What do you not say?
That's
Andy?
all right. I'll just not say it.
No, say it.
No, what I don't say is that was in 9th grade. That was in high school, and that was I think like 3 or 4 months of doing a mile every week after school.
Yeah,
So like if
I remember
you did
that.
if you
Yeah.
did a mile now, it
7 minutes
probably
11
wouldn't-
seconds.
it probably
Maybe
wouldn't
like
be-
7 minutes 30 seconds. I mean, gotten a little bit older, so it's
Oh, okay. Well,
hard to
you're
run.
still within your sub 8-minute mile, so that's
no way. I don't know. I mean, I haven't run, so maybe.
Sub-hour. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could walk in less than an hour. I think.
I think you could.
Huh.
Unless you're going up a mountain or something.
Oh yeah.
Like very steep mountain. Or a cliff. Maybe
Yeah.
a cliff.
Oh yeah. I don't think I could even walk up a cliff physically.
Yeah.
But okay, so maybe we won't use running. That might have been not the best. But how about social adeptness? What's the word? Social
social aptitude.
aptitude. There you go. Yeah,
That's a cool one.
that is what I think is where I think you're going with the average Jonas.
Right.
When you were saying what the benefits to being average were, you brought up social aptitude.
Okay, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty good field. And the hard thing about that though is it's like with running you were able to ask me like what my mile time was or like specific
Yeah.
distances that I run, so it's more quantifiable. When we get into socializing, that's a hard thing to quantify. And humans do not think logically, so you can't just go off of how you feel that you're doing. That's like one thing I picked up from the book Loser Think by Scott Adams is there's a lot of moments where we feel like, yeah, I feel like I'm better than everyone else, but if you're to actually take the data, you're actually like far below. People tend to have like people want to be better than who they actually are. Like we have a tendency to want to be better than ourselves right now, or better than how we're perceived to be, or like how we actually are. And I guess if we're putting it into Freudian terms, people strive to be their super ego and tend to think of themselves like in terms of their super ego rather than their actual ego. And so it's hard to express my average Jonas in how I deal with social settings, because how I think I do is probably different than if we were able to actually somehow gather quantifiable data on the subject matter. And,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't know how to measure that, but like I feel like I'm an average socializer. Like I'm not the star of the show, I'm not the I definitely know that I don't carry the party on my shoulders, but I'm also like I feel that I'm very apt at carrying conversations and meeting new people and making new friends on the spot and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't even want to say average. that's something. I don't know. Average is. That's saying the average person is able to do that. Okay, I think I'm okay saying it's expected that people can do that.
Well, I have to say this. You guys are definitely making me feel better about myself.
Oh, that's good.
In this conversation.
Average Adam.
I think
average. Yeah.
You keep pointing out that maybe I'm slightly higher than average.
There you go.
Maybe I'm a C plus or a B minus.
Well, here's what I think is what it is. So I think you know how to be average. Like, you know what it means to act like an average person. I don't know why, but I was thinking like you know how to be like a spy, like an averageness spy.
Oh.
So you could do that. You could wear that hat, but you also know how to not be so average.
To excel in.
Yeah. In the case of like trying to be more entrepreneurial or, well, that's really all I can think of. But, you know, and then the stuff that you like to think about, I think that puts you above average. But you still have no problem coming down to averageness. That's how I see it.
Okay,
that's how I see you.
That's an interesting analysis, Andy. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
But but like I said, like what I learned from Scott Adams in the book Loser Think, like humans naturally tend to think they're higher than that. Like, no matter how smart or dumb a person is, if you're just to take a poll on a, like, I don't know, in Santa Monica or New York, you're just walking around with a microphone and a video camera and you're taking you're interviewing random people and taking polls of like where they think. I think everyone, like, unless you have some like case of neurosis or something, I think most people think that they're better than average.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to fall into that trap, I guess.
Yeah, like that's definitely a thing. I heard this from Thomas, that everybody thinks that they're an above average driver, which is statistically impossible.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's statistically impossible, but just as humans, we illogically believe that.
Yeah.
Which is, oh man, I feel like I am promoting Scott Adams through this playlist. I definitely don't adhere to all of his beliefs, but man, this guy is brilliant. And whether you agree with his beliefs or not, he definitely has a lot of wisdom to share. And for any listeners out there who want to read the book Loser Think, it's
Scott Adams.
It will open your mind.
Loser Think. Okay.
Open your mind.
Now, let's transition a little bit. So, we just covered the Average Adam segment, and now I want to cover the Outlier Andy segment.
Oh, man. All right.
Because I feel like there's some value to that as well. And, I've always seen... I think I've been able to see for many years that Andy sees himself as an outlier, which may or may not be true, but it's part of Andy's ego. And I actually, that's part of one of the reasons why I relate to Andy, because for most of my life, I've kind of seen myself as an outlier in some ways too. And I think that it like reveals itself in some of the ways that like we behave. It's different. I think it's expressed differently through Andy and I. Like, we're definitely unique individuals, but it's like an aspect we share. And so like, what thoughts come about for you with that, Andy?
Yeah. Okay. I would actually, let me start by saying, I think I sort of observed some of that in you too, Logan. That you did, at least, showed some outlier behaviors. And I don't think it's like necessarily a bad thing to be an outlier. Me neither. So I'm not trying to say that's I'm not trying to say that's that in a bad way or anything. But
it's not like outcast or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there are words that sound like not good that are like kind of similar meaning.
Right, yeah. And I don't mean it in that way. I'm even just saying it just statistically, qualitatively even.
Yeah.
But it's hard because like we don't really know what average is and where that ends. Where
Yeah, it's
averageness
subjectively defined by each of us, what is average. Right. And then, so you see that subjective definition, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm not average because I don't like rap, and well, that's one. Right. And then you keep maybe a count, not really like numbers, but just you kind of realize, wow, in several ways I'm not average, so I'm probably an outlier maybe.
Right, yeah. So that's one of those kind of like, you know it when you experience it. You know it when, well, the phrase is you know it when you see it, but it's more of like you know it when you experience it, I guess. So yeah, so that has come up a lot where I'll be like, I don't really relate to what seems to be the most relatable things and whatnot. Especially with just social interactions. We had that whole thing last week about how it's hard for me to stick to conversations, certain conversations. But well, that's what comes to mind for me is just socially, at least socially. How about you? Where have your evaluations of yourself led you to?
To think that I'm like an outlier?
In terms of, outlying behavior.
Dang. I feel like throughout my life it's just kind of been like maybe a summation of just several things.
Yeah.
Like, man.
Well, how about social? Did you have something?
I think I'm getting somewhere. I'm thinking there came a point early on where I realized I did not care to just fit in. And so I feel like from that point, and maybe that was like earlier than I even think, but like, yeah, from that point, it's like, if you're not like trying to fit in and you're just kind of embracing yourself, then maybe it's just kind of natural that you become an outlier in certain ways because you don't embrace these things that everybody likes. But I don't know, trying to fit in, that's interesting. It's like, well, I didn't care about a lot of things that a lot of people cared about. And I would see like people who are trying to fit in, they're all like liking the same kind of music, or they're all liking the same kind of activities or sports or whatever.
Okay.
And so like I never would fit into those groups because I never tried. But maybe it's also just about your natural interest or inclination, because I feel like Adam also doesn't try to fit in, but in a lot of ways, like he just was mentioning how he is average. He likes a lot of things that are maybe average things to like. I don't know. Would you say that's true, Adam?
Or I would rephrase it to, I like a lot of things in average amount.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I never cared about following sports, for example. And, I guess there's a lot of people like me that don't care to either. But it kind of seemed at times like that was an average thing for people to like, because, everybody has their own football team or whatever team that they're excited about, whatever, like during the season. And I always thought of it as just like these people all want to fit in or something, like they all want to belong to some kind of group so that they can have their group and the other groups to be against and play this like game or this kind of thing, where I was just like, well, there's so much money at stake, but like the price of a football is like maybe $10. Why don't I know every single member of this team could buy their own ball and then they wouldn't have to fight over it.
Oh gosh.
That's like what I would think about those
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like sporting events. Like these guys have millions of dollars, but they can't afford their own football, and they have to keep fighting over that one.
That's good.
You tell your kids that, like, oh yeah, these guys come here because they know someone has a ball and they're just trying to go home with it.
Yeah, and they make a big deal of it too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, yeah, maybe that's just part of why I see myself as an outlier, but you know, I very well might actually be an average person, but it's like my ego to be an outlier. Like I think that could be true. Like what if Andy doesn't know the whole like humanity like well enough to understand that he is actually one of the most average people. Like
Oh yeah.
that's like a
That's-
thought that I'm
Yeah,
thinking right
I was
now.
thinking about that earlier too. Like we
Yeah.
only know the people in our immediate circle. Like we're not exposed.
Or just the people that we've ever met in our life. Like
Right.
that's who we know, and
well,
that's such a
not
small
even
fraction
that,
of the
though.
earth.
Not even that though, because we've probably met a lot more people than we realized who we also barely know anything about. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. Is like that's why I said like we're only able to compare ourselves to people, maybe not in our immediate circle, maybe like one or two iterations past our immediate circle, but definitely not
Yeah.
everyone we've met, because we've probably met a whole lot of people, a whole lot more people than we like know how to relate to.
Sure.
That's true. But I feel like you can, even if you don't know someone very well, it might be natural that you start to say, well, this guy's like an average guy and I'm not. Or like you like it might still be easy for you to like compare yourself.
I guess that's true.
to
Like
that-
you could
that-
figure that out pretty quick within like 2 minutes of conversation.
Yeah.
That's tough. I don't know about that one.
But Andy,
Well,
so
what
you
about
think,
all the? Can I just ask? What
Oh,
about
yeah.
the people? Because I mean, there are a lot of people on the internet that we've seen. I don't know about interacting. I don't know if you guys, like if you play a game, you'll interact with. Like that also factors
Yeah,
into.
that's true. Or like even watching YouTube, like you don't have to
Yeah.
necessarily meet these people if you just watch how people act on
Mhm.
either social media or YouTube or video
Yeah.
games, like you were saying. So
think
we
that
do have
factors
a lot larger sample size than we think we. It doesn't have to be physical people we've had interactions with.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with people on the internet, though.
Yeah.
What's the rule? Like, if someone's a woman on the internet, they're actually a male. Isn't there some like joke about that?
I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
But well, what's interesting though is because the internet creates this like shield for the user from like against the rest of the
okay.
world,
Uh-huh.
like people are more willing to express their opinions and thoughts on the internet than they are in a conversation with someone in a social setting. So I think the internet actually like uncovers like how people actually think.
Yeah, that's well. What is that? How does that usually come out? In like angry tone of voice or like what
I
is
mean,
it?
I mean, I've seen forums on the internet that are like, you know, people just making fun of each other and getting mad at each other the whole time. But I've also found forums on the internet where it's like, wow, there's actually really good discourse going on here. Like, I feel like there's a lot of nice people on the internet. I feel like the internet has a reputation for like jerks and bullies and just people trolling each other. But that's just the reputation it has because like that is like that's a reputation not because it's a popular occurrence, but because that's what makes the news. Because it's dramatic.
Okay.
Like that's what people are gonna. People hear the dramatic examples more than they hear just the normal. Like you're watching the news, you're not gonna hear about a kid's 13th birthday. You're gonna hear about, some crazy wildfire that came close to destroying this one neighborhood somewhere. I don't know. Like you hear, like news that gets spread a broader distance tends to be the more dramatic news than the average news. But I think, like, from what I've seen on YouTube, and just because I don't really use social media anyway, social media is not a good sample population for me, so that's why I'm kind of going with YouTube.
Okay.
Or like other blogs that I've seen. It tends to be mostly civil.
Where it's people communicating with each other.
Right, yeah, just civil discourse, nothing like...
I haven't seen much of that.
Trolling.
I don't really browse for people communicating. Discourse.
Well, I'm just talking about, like, when you read a comment and then look... Alright, so you watch a video and then look at the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those tend to be all pretty docile and...
I don't know.
You get some trolls every once in a while. I guess it depends on the topic of the video too. Like, I watch a lot of educational stuff on YouTube, whereas someone who watches like gaming stuff on YouTube, a lot of it's going to be trolling.
That's for sure. Well, okay. Either way, I'm wondering if that's a good place to build your model of the average person, and I like it because it's global. You get a sense of everyone.
Right.
All humans. I say all humans. That's kind of robotic to say, but just because I'm thinking like a movie where you got some average Joe, not an average Joe. He's like a outlier Joe, and then he's like, "Dang, I hate my life," and then aliens pick him up, and he like just gets along with them instantly, goes back to their house, the alien house, and then just. Like it could happen where that he's average there. I don't know if because I don't know if there's such a thing happening on Earth because everybody seems to kind of be more or less the same on Earth. They're humans. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bring up the internet because I really only personally interacted with people in California and whatnot, but. I do have kind of an idea of what people are like, at least on the internet. I don't know if that's fair though, but I do factor that into it.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird topic. So much stuff out there on the internet, so many different voices, and when you have anonymity, you can behave in a different way.
Oh my gosh.
I really think so because, especially when I was younger and I kind of really understood like, wow, on the internet I'm anonymous, so I can actually do whatever the heck I want, like, and I do not have to worry about the consequences very much.
Yeah.
I liked that thought, and I kind of would exploit that sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of a troll at heart, but I'm not like an evil troll. I'm more of like just a
playful
prankster, playful troll. Yeah,
that's fine.
Not malevolent. Yeah.
See, but I think even that I think is outlying behavior. But for me, I really like that because I would say that's something maybe I would say is an average. Okay, I think it's average to not want to do pranks. If you think about like a businessman at work, I don't, in my head, in that like archetype, I don't imagine them doing pranks as part of what they are.
Okay, yeah.
So that, or if they do a prank, it's very professional. It's like they'll send an email that's, I can't even think of what I do, but just, yeah, I don't know. I think like people don't like being goofy is how I like to phrase it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is.
anyway,
Why are people goofy? Yeah.
but I get along with goofiness. I think it's like an icebreaker for me, I would say.
Yeah, I like goofiness too.
Everybody's so serious all the time.
I'm in that same boat, Andy. I think
Yeah, yeah.
I think people take life too seriously sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And not just that, but in the way that their humor comes out. And well, what do I know about humor? But anyway, so Logan, tell me,
Yeah.
are you? I think you might have said this, but are you content with being an outlier?
Yeah, I think like it's part of my ego that I am happy with. Like I decided a long time ago, like, yeah, well, I think I didn't just at one day say I am going to be an outlier for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. It's like the culmination of a lot of decisions throughout my life of like, I see people doing that, but that's not for me. Like that happened so many times to the point where it's like, yeah, maybe I'm just an outlier and that's okay. But there are times where I wonder if I'm missing out. Like, what if I had tried to like embrace this thing that I didn't? Maybe I would have interesting friendships that I don't have now, like, or something. But I don't know. I always just really took the thing, like the idea of like be yourself, very truthfully or very like seriously. So yeah, I feel like I'm content with it. But
That's
sometimes in my life, I do sometimes feel pretty alone. And in those times, I wonder if I'm content with it. Or like, sometimes I just wish like, dang, it's just certain points in life, but it's like, man, I have like no friends around me at this particular point or whatever like that. At those times, I find myself questioning it. But I think in my higher times, like, and I have people around me, and I'm just wanting to get like attack every day, I'm pretty content with who I am and how I've made the choice to be the authentic Logan. At least that's how I see it.
That's a good. Yeah. Because I don't know I'm wondering how you would feel, and I'm wondering if you had any experiences just really trying to fit in and really trying. So, like with sports, you might have touched on this earlier or in another episode, but it's like if you just try to get invested the way other people do and how that works out. Like, have you had any other standout experiences with that? Well, did that make sense what I'm asking?
I think so. Like,
yeah.
Did I try to fit in at any point and then decide that it's not for me?
Or even the other way, you've tried and then it turned out to be something that you were wrong about, and it was really fitting for you.
Well, okay. I feel like there's a lot of things I could think about. I have to reach for it. But like, one of my best friends growing up was my friend Nolan and his brother Nick. I would hang out with them all the time. And from my upbringing, I wasn't really raised to be down with like first-person shooter games. But when I would hang out with Nolan, like he had an Xbox 360, and his favorite game was like Halo. I think when I hung out with him the most, Halo 3 was like a big one, and then Halo ODST, like around that era. And then he got it really into Call of Duty. And I always just thought, man, those games aren't for me. Like I think that's like what everybody's playing, and I'm just not interested. And I think that wasn't necessarily true. And then at one point I decided like to get one. and then I got good at it, and I realized, oh, I actually do like it legitimately. Like, I'm not compromising myself by playing this game that I thought wasn't for me. And sometimes I think I have overthought things too much, where I just say, that's not for me, but I'm just so, like, stupid to say something like that. Like, sometimes I do think overall, like, as a human on this earth, we don't know what we want. We're just kind of like going through this existence and encountering things, and like, I don't know. Sometimes I think we should be more open-minded, and I've come to think that a little bit. But yeah, and that was one case in which I came to like something that everybody else did. But, you know, maybe it doesn't fit into your question because I did not do it to try to fit in.
Yeah, why did you?
I kind of did it because, I don't know, is it trying to fit in? Because I think I did it because I thought, you know, so many people like this, maybe I ought to give it a try. Is that fitting in, or is that just taking a suggestion?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I don't know. I would have to say that if I were to answer right now, that would be more taking a suggestion. And there's so much advertising for games and consoles, so that could have factored into it too. But that's still, you wouldn't like resist buying that stuff or trying, because I'm sure you'd play the games with him at his house.
Yeah,
and I think some people, I bet there are people out there who would just be like, no, I don't even want to try, I'll just watch.
Yeah.
You know, so that was good that you tried it. And it ended up, coming out to be, I think I was interested in seeing if I could answer how like far do you have to go, how far into an activity do you have to go to realize it's not for you, and you can't do this without feeling fake about it, like feeling not genuine about it.
Yeah.
So that, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Like sometimes when I think about younger days, and I think like, I don't know. There's other things that I might need a therapist to really extract from my own brain, but like why didn't I get into like football, and why didn't I get into soccer and all that stuff? Like, I'm a relatively fit person. I'm relatively active. I like being active, but yet I never embraced those. I think if I really applied myself and just decided I'm going to do this, like, I could have been good. You know, but for some reason, I think it's like because they were popular, and maybe I just didn't want to do that.
Maybe.
Sometimes I like almost decided to be an outcast or an outsider, and I think that's not always healthy to just decide. Like, why don't I've had that dialogue with myself? Like, why don't you just do it because it's just there? Like, live your life. Don't keep talking yourself out of things. And there is this part of myself it's kind of like a weakness of mine. That's kind of like an antisocial part of me that thinks I'm not worthy or something like that. I don't understand it. I kind of wish I could outgrow it. I think I have in some ways, but like, I don't know. You know, some people, like, for example, here, it's kind of weird to like dig into this, but it's like, you know, I know Adam's really down to like play volleyball and stuff, for example, or he's down with a lot of things, but like, I've had times where just like friends are playing volleyball at like the beach at like a party or something, and I just don't even let myself go in because I think that I'm gonna like be not good enough, and I'm gonna like weigh down the team. So I don't even try because I know that I'm not good. But like, that behavior repeated so many times kind of ensures that you're not good, and then at the end, like, I would always just talk myself out of it. But it's like, Man, I think it would have been fun if I just didn't care if I was good and I just went in and just had a good time.
Yeah. What would happen if you went in and, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking of a specific set of players right now.
Yeah.
Are you? Or okay. What do you think would happen if you? Because they would probably say you want to play with us, and then if you said yes, and you turned out to be really bad, what do you think they would say?
I think they would be polite. And they would probably be able to laugh.
Oh, okay.
And then I would be like feeling super self-conscious about.
Oh,
I'm weighing down. I'm like taking away from their good time now. So
Yeah.
I should like not be in this situation.
I kind of relate to that too, not with volleyball, but with basketball. So I am a horrendous basketball player. But
yeah.
somehow my college roommates and my cousin convinced me to start going down to the Cal Poly gym courts where like really good people play 5-on-5. And you know, they're just pickup games, but they're like pretty intense for just pickup games. Like they're played very, very seriously, very, very like intentionally competitive. Like they're very, very competitive games. Like I know a lot of like club basketball players would go there to play, and there was even some times where like people on the NCAA football team would come by just to play for fun, and so people took it seriously. And then I kind of come in. I have no experience with basketball. I'm a 5'9" male. Like I'm not tall. I do not have the skills of basketball. But you know, like I know how to dribble. I know how to like I could shoot 3-pointers and get rebounds maybe 50% of the time. I don't know, maybe less. That might be me thinking I'm a little bit better than I actually am. Or like a layup. Like I know how to do a layup. Like very, very like basic basketball skills. But my roommates just kind of threw me into this game of like people who actually, you know, they grew up playing club basketball and playing basketball for their high school, and some were even playing club for Cal Poly, and so I definitely know that feeling of like, oh man, I am not the right person. Like I should not be on this court right now. Like I do not deserve to be on this court. Like it is a dishonor that my feet are even touching this basketball court right now.
Yeah.
So I know that feeling of what it's like to like everyone knows you're the worst one on the court. But I think what's interesting is like what determines persistence? Because I know for me, like I definitely felt like, yeah, no one wanted to be on my team, and I knew that I was the worst person. But maybe it helped that I was playing with my roommates and like people that were my friends. Like I would have never gone down there to just hop in a game by myself. I think I did a couple times for like 3v3 games, but never like the big 5v5 ones. I would just go to shoot and watch or something.
Okay.
So I think like being with my friends helped a lot. But I think for deep down inside, there was some level of persistence in me where I was like, I know I'm the worst player on the court right now, but I'm going to continue. I'm going to like try to force myself to get over that hump and continue to play, and maybe I'm going to improve. And I think like if you're able to adopt the mindset of just growth and like, okay, yeah, I suck right now. And like you tell yourself, I'm not good, but instead you tell yourself, I'm not good yet. Like just kind of change small, like little things that you tell yourself, and your mindset begins to change. And I started really enjoying, like the first time I played was terrible. I hated it. And I thought about not going again. And then yet again, my roommates encouraged me to go a second time. So I tried going a second time, like, okay, guys, I'm really bad at this. I don't know why you want me to go. But after that, I kept going, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and learn and grow and figure out how to play this game. And yeah, I think now I'm still not the best basketball. I'm still not even good at basketball at all. I'm still a horrendous basketball player. But I was able, because I was playing with some of the best basketball players at Cal Poly multiple times over and over again. I did pick up, like I did improve a little bit, and I picked up some skills and was able to observe some things. And so I think the two factors that kind of went into that persistence was like, one, I had people there to support me and continue encouraging me to keep playing, even though I knew that I was the worst person in that entire gym. And then two, I was able to find it within myself to adopt a mindset of, I'm going to use this as a learning and growing experience and get comfortable being uncomfortable with the situation and getting over that hump. And yeah. And I don't know, like, where that kind of brings up the question, like, where does persistence to keep up with that come from?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I don't know. It's one thing to just tell someone, like, well, just get over your fear of like other people judging you for being bad at something. It's one thing to just say that, but then to actually like adopt that mindset is just a whole nother mountain to climb. And it's interesting, like, where that stems from.
Yeah. So, do you think it was like the key was having people there that were supportive, or like, because you mentioned that?
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of the big factors that went into that. Like, if they weren't, for example, I would have never gone to play basketball by myself. Like, it was all because they were encouraging me to go play.
Okay. Yeah, like, because that's my thing was like, in such situations, I would just talk myself out of doing anything like that. Because yeah, it's just like, I'm just gonna weigh them down. I'm gonna prevent them from having a good time. But then it's like, I feel like the sad part is that I'm like making myself not have a good time too. Like, I feel like those kind of things are fun, and I just don't like embrace them.
Huh. I don't know if that decision was made out of whether you liked the sport or not.
Yeah.
It seemed to be more so you were, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you're fixated on whether you were going to hold them back.
Well, and that's the point I was trying to make. Like, it's not that I liked or didn't like basketball, or Logan likes or didn't like volleyball. I think the factors were like how we feel others are going to react to our poor skills or like inability to perform well at whichever sport.
Yeah.
But like that can be overcome by like support from your peers or from your friends. And like that kind of helps you adopt the mentality of like, I'm not gonna let what others think about me like determine
Sure.
my decisions.
Okay.
Andy, were you ever into sports?
I was, yeah. I played soccer when I was like 6 or something. I played flag football after. I don't even know the ages, but
Dang, you have me one upped there, Andy. I never played flag football.
Yeah, I was a real LaDainian Tomlinson.
I tried out for the flag football team in middle school, and I didn't make the cut.
Oh,
That's the
dang.
closest I ever got to playing flag football.
Yeah, I remember when I tried out, they were like, dang, you're so good. We're going to kick off this kid named Adam. And put you on the team. Just kidding. What if I took... That's funny to think, like, yeah, I took your only chance of
flag football.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it didn't stick, I guess, football. But what do you guys think of people who say, well, if you don't like it, then you don't like it. That's just who you are. You don't have to try it.
I mean, I believe that. Like, I feel like we're all created a little bit differently than everyone else, and so there's some things like we could choose to become and choose to be and choose to change our minds or choose our behavior and act differently. But I also believe that there are just some things where just naturally we don't find them interesting at all. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to not like sports. It's okay to not like... I mean, think about it from like the opposite end. Like, it's okay to not like math or like other academic subjects.
No, that's not acceptable. Yeah, here's one. I got a little anecdote for you guys. When I was growing up as a teenager, I would go to some pool parties sometimes, and I just don't like swimming. That's not something I did.
Yeah, I remember that.
But you know what? Everyone there would give me a hard time and say, you gotta swim. That would be kind of the reason, is like, you just have to. You have to because you're here. And I don't know, that was like really annoying to me, because it's like I don't have that freedom to go to something and not, you know what I mean?
I actually remember one of those pool parties, and like we ended up all just splashing you so much that you were soaked and you may as well get in the pool.
Oh, I kind of, yeah, there was all that kind of
annoying. I know it was annoying, but everybody kind of converged on you and like,
that was
made the decision for you, basically.
That was ridiculous. But it's like that kind of situation. It's someone doesn't like it, leave them alone about it.
Well, yeah, usually when situations like that and others like it happen, you're faced with the choice of, do I want to push myself out of my comfort zone and possibly learn and grow from this experience, or become defensive and choose to be yourself in your own way. And I think a lot of people could relate to your situation, not specifically like swimming in a pool, but like just that happening where it's like you're a certain way, but then others encourage you to do something you don't want to, not necessarily something you don't want to do, but just like going with the flow of the situation, because to others you may not seem like you're going with the flow of the situation. I don't know. And so others like desire that experience for you. And so I think there's just many situations in life where you're faced with that choice, like, do I stick with just my natural inclination to do what comes naturally to me, or do I want to step out of my comfort zone and possibly like learn and grow from this experience?
Yeah, I mean, Adam, do you think that sometimes when we resist a lot, that we are robbing ourselves of these, like, something that could be good.
Yes. That is
Oh,
a
That's-
hard,
yeah.
that's a very easy. And I don't mean in like a negative way. Like, I'm not saying people who resist opportunities are like, I'm not saying yes and then looking down on them or anything. But I think naturally, if you're resisting opportunities, you're like, if you're given option A or option B and you choose option A, like, therefore you're not doing option B. So that was not a good way to express that thought.
are you talking about opportunity cost?
One thing I will say that I believe in is, if you're not growing, you're diminishing. And I don't believe that there's any such thing as staying still, because you're never the same exact person you were yesterday or an hour ago or a second ago, because as time progresses, you are automatically gaining new experience, no matter what. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but as time is going, you are writing on like, if I was to make an analogy and compare like ourselves or like our brains, our souls to like a computer, as time progresses, you are writing memory into your system. And so naturally you are never the same person you were a second ago, an hour ago, a day ago, a year ago. It doesn't matter how much time goes by. You are never the same person, the exact same person you were however measurement of time ago. And so I adopt the mindset that if you're not growing, you're going backwards.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is true. I think I heard that specifically with like trombone by one of our like teachers.
Oh
in the
yeah.
past. One of
Yeah,
our,
maybe
private
Mr.
instructors.
Ewell or one of our coaches
I heard-
like ingrained that into our brain, and I kind of took that concept in marching band but applied it
Yeah.
to life in general.
I think I heard it from Mr. Royce, actually. I remember.
Oh yeah. It
him
sounds
saying
like
that.
something he'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, like there is no such thing as just keeping yourself like the same level.
Right. Yeah, you're never static. You're always mobile. And so if you're not moving up, well then naturally you're moving down.
Yeah. That's true.
It's like gravity. Can't have life without gravity. I don't know. Gravity pulls down. It's actually not down. It's
a
forward.
push.
It's a push. Oh,
yeah,
that's not even nice.
gravity is actually a push.
It's like a negative push.
Yeah, mass bends space-time, and that interaction is a force that pushes you towards the mass.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I explained that right. For all you physics people out there, I know for a fact that you are just picking me apart right now or laughing at me. I know that
They already turned off the podcast.
Yeah. I just dishonored every physicist listening to this. I did not explain that well, but from what I've heard, gravity is a push, not a pull.
Oh, okay.
And it has to do with I think it was Einstein actually who was first to kind of come up with that idea.
Of course, he would say something like that.
Yeah.
I had this theory that, so you know how there's the electrical force or electric
Right.
force?
EMF. Electromotive force.
No, there's the force that two charges that is caused by two charges.
Oh, like an electric
other.
field, the force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generated by. So
Generated by
I
electric
thought
field.
that is the only fundamental force, and what gravity is, it's just the summation of all electric forces acting on two things which have electrons or which have charges. Is that anywhere close to?
No. There's actually three. There's three, at least that we know about. There's
Right.
three fundamental forces in physics. There's electromagnetic forces. There's gravity, which I think is like. Sorry, did I say three? There's four.
Yeah, you said three. Okay.
There's four. There's four fundamental forces.
Nuclear
At least that
force.
are generally accepted in our contemporary knowledge of physics. But it's electromagnetic, gravitational, and then the reason I thought it was three was because of nuclear force. But there's weak nuclear force and there's strong nuclear force. So there's actually
the most
four.
scientific ways of describing nuclear forces. Weak and strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they couldn't think of any more technical terms.
Where does gravity get its, where does that come from?
What do you mean, where does gravity come from?
How do you explain why there's gravitational force? Alright, so what I'm saying is you got two bodies, two rigid bodies, or I guess they don't have to be rigid, but two bodies that are usually made up of electrons, or those particles. What are they called? Atoms? Atoms isn't everything, though. I think atoms
atoms aren't particles. Atoms are made up of particles.
Okay,
Particles would be like protons, neutrons, electrons. You have neutrinos, you have quarks, you have
neutrinos,
photons.
Is it neutrinos?
Oh, neutrinos.
I've always heard neutrinos, but that'd be cool.
Neutrino is pretty cool.
Anyway, so you have those.
Is a note-taking app. That's my bad. Yeah, I slipped on that. Yeah,
the fundamental building block of everything.
Hey.
Neutrino.
Well, anyway, so all of those particles have charge, right?
Higgs boson particles.
Now I'm sounding dumb.
I don't think so.
Physicists.
Okay. Only electrons and protons have charge.
Well, okay, so then anything that doesn't have charge just doesn't contribute to gravity. Anyway, that was a thing I thought of. I don't think it's worth exploring, but I don't know anything about physics, I'll admit that. It's fun. I think it's fun, but it's hard.
Yeah, dude. See, I don't know how, but we somehow ended up back on quantum physics because we're talking about quarks and leptons and bosons and you got your gluons, your photons, your Higgs bosons,
protons.
Protons are actually made up of quarks, actually.
Oh.
So, I guess, and I could be wrong, but I'm not actually sure if protons and neutrons are elementary. I mean, they're particles. I would say they're atomic particles, but they're not elementary particles. But electrons are.
What about croutons?
Croutons are great.
What are those made? What are those made of?
I love croutons. Now we're getting into salads.
Oh.
I actually don't. Wait, what was your Go. What was your question?
I'm saying gravity, sure, it is a thing, but what causes gravity? I'm proposing particles. Charged particles cause gravity, which means you can take away gravity as a fundamental force because electric force already covers it. It's like a corollary of electric forces.
I think the reason and again, I think this is like the third or fourth time I've said this. I'm not a physicist, so I'm not the best one to explain this.
Me either. I gotta. Too.
But gravitational force and electromagnetic forces have very, very, very different strengths. For example, the electromagnetic force is way, 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 way stronger than gravitational forces. Like,
well, that depends on the charge, doesn't it?
You only have a positive or negative charge. Well,
when you have okay.
The number of particles determines the mass of something, but the electromagnetic forces between those particles is much stronger than the gravitational force between those particles. So it's not. They are two separate things because.
Oh, okay.
The gravitational force. So if we go, let's go to a subatomic level here. So if we're looking inside an atom, and we have a nucleus of protons and neutrons, and we have electrons whizzing beside. Okay, the nuclear force is what keeps the neutrons and protons grouped together.
How like scientific is this gonna get? Like, is this worth? I already even answered my own question. So
I'm just saying
you want it?
The effect of the electromagnetic forces between the protons and electrons interacting with each other inside the atom is far greater, like exponentially stronger than the effect of gravity between a proton and an electron. And so we know that they're two separate forces because two different interactions are happening within that system.
Oh, yeah, huh.
And it's not until you have very, 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 very large masses that we even experience the force of gravity. Because gravity is the smallest.
But
gravity is the weakest force because you need so much mass. Like, you need a lot of mass in order to even experience a gravitational force. Whereas electromagnetic forces you don't need at all.
Are you talking about you as a body? As a physics body?
Rhetorical.
Are you talking? Right, yeah. So, well, I don't think that's true because, I mean, I've never been affected by...
The summation of all the electromagnetic forces happening within the Earth right now would be far greater than the actual amount of gravitational force that we experience from the Earth.
Maybe.
And then when you were asking about where does gravity even come from, so that's you would have to understand modern physics or just Einsteinian physics, how that works. Okay. But it has to do with how the bigger a mass is, the more it bends space-time because it's taking up. When you have a mass of anything, it is now technically taking up space, and that this is really weird to say, but now that empty space is being displaced, and it's that bend in space-time that creates an attraction between other objects that also bend space-time. And that's where gravity is. So, yeah, I think when most people think of gravity, they think, oh, it's the Earth pulling our human bodies like towards it. That it's not true at all, because every mass in the universe attracts every other mass in the universe proportional to the distance, or inversely proportional to the distance between them. And so we're actually attracting the Earth just as much as the Earth is attracting us. But it's the bend in space-time pushing us together, which is why gravity is a push and not a pull.
Oh.
So I've heard.
Okay.
I never had to take modern physics, so once again, not the best forerunner to be explaining this topic. But that is my basic understanding.
Okay.
Like very, very surface level understanding of how gravity works. So,
well, I can't refute that. But that's where I get the listeners to defend my electric force theory. So it's not over, buyers.
I feel like if you were right, people much, much more smarter than me would have realized that by now.
Maybe. Or maybe I'm the only person who's discovered this.
Yeah, maybe you're the next Einstein. That could also be possible. Go publish a paper on it, and
that's too much work.
I
also know that
your agent do it.
Oh yeah, you gotta hire an agent, paper writing agent. I also know that that's not true though, because if you have a negatively charged particle, it doesn't float upward because of gravity. Or I think if you were to negatively charge yourself, I don't think you would float. So that kind of just
oh yeah,
disproves
that's
it.
also true. Well, yeah, I didn't even think about that because I was thinking in terms of a positive charge and a negative charge. But put two protons together, and they're not going to attract because charges push. Well,
yeah.
Protons. Let's go back to electrons because I don't really know how protons work. I don't know why they say protons have a positive charge because I don't know how protons are charged. It's something's charged because of its abundance or lack of electrons. So let's go. So I have an electron. Let's say I have two electrons. Now I have two negatively charged particles. So if I put them in a room together, they're going to what's the opposite of attract? Why am I blanking on this one? Huh?
Repel?
Yeah, thank you. They're going to repel each other. But because electrons have mass, granted it's very, very tiny mass, there is also a gravitational force experienced between the two particles. But it is so small that the electromagnetic force kind of overpowers it to the point where the gravitational force experienced between those two particles is basically negligible.
Yep.
And so if your theory was correct, if gravity was like equivalent to just the summation of all electromagnetic forces, they would still be pulling each other towards each other. Because that's how gravity works. Gravity is an attraction between two masses. But they don't. They repel.
Okay.
Because the electromagnetic force is far greater.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
it.
that's my basic level of modern physics, at least trying to explain.
We need
Yeah.
to
Gravity-
pull up the curriculum now. And
Yeah,
just
we
keep
need.
going.
We need
Keep going.
I can't talk a lot about gravity because that's more like modern physics, but I can talk about electromagnetic forces because we did talk a lot about that in my electrical engineering classes. So
Mhm.
that I do have that I can talk about.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, end of lecture.
Mm.
Yeah, lecture concluded.
How did that even get brought up again? Like, where did this come from? Why were you asking me about gravity?
Push and pull. That's what I think it started there, right?
I don't know.
Because you said gravity is a push, not a pull. And then you started to get into that train of thought where
yeah.
it's like, well, here's
But why
why
did-
gravity is actually a push and not a pull.
Why did Andy mention gravity in the first place?
We're talking about things falling. Oh, if you're not going forward, you're going down. Not going up, you're going down.
And that was reason enough to have a physics lecture. I think you were just
amazing
really
how
wanting
tangents
to have a physics lecture, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Even-
yeah. Subconsciously, I had all this physics
It's just
in
been-
me that I needed to expound upon.
It was all pent up, and you're like, well, he said things fall, so let me,
That's a good enough excuse for me.
I got something to tell you about that. Things falling.
Man.
No, that's good though. You didn't get that degree for nothing.
I think we just lost whoever was listening to this podcast. I think we just lost them. We lost our audience. We
It's
no
okay.
longer have an audience anymore. They're like, all right, that does it.
We
One
gotta
more
start over.
outburst from this guy, and we're done.
Yeah. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there was
I-
an audience listening to us, they're like, if this guy talks about science, business, or education one more time, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, well. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else listening in, thank you for joining us around the bonfire. It has been a warm and pleasant evening with all of y'all. This is Adam and my fellow co-hosts, Logan and Andy, signing off. Have a warm rest of your evening.